Welcome back to Yaffee Live, Talk Radio 102.3. Glad you have joined the show today. So the General Assembly, the legislative session in Nashville, about to wrap up. So the question is, what do you think of the job that they did? And that's one of my questions right now for Brandon Lewis, who is the founder of the Tennessee Conservative, and you can read all his stuff at TennesseeConservativeNews.com. This interview will show up there on the front page tomorrow. TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Brandon, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Just a little disappointed, but you get used to it.
Unfortunately, you're right. So if you had to give them a letter grade, I know there's still some time left, some hours left. But if you had to give the legislature a letter grade this session, what grade would you give them?
I think it's mixed. I think on many of the most important issues, they would get an F minus. On some other things, we have made progress. But we still have a huge contingency of Republicans in the General Assembly, mainly due to lack of leadership from the top, that still will not listen to their constituency. And so we've got some sad news to share, but hopefully the next session we can get this stuff across the finish line.
So a C. It sounds like maybe a C minus. It's
Yeah.
mixed,
And
which isn't great.
they're riding the short bus most of the time.
So one of the stories that you have talking about disappointment, we have four rhinos that apparently let Democrats select Republican candidates in primaries. This has to do with the closed primary bill, which, as you mentioned, Republican voters want, but we can never seem to get it passed.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I was speaking to Marsha Blackburn's chief consultant, Ward Baker, the other day, and she actually brought this exact same bill in the 1990s. So this thing is like
Oh, wow.
20,
Huh.
20 plus years
Yeah.
of rhinos killing this bill. And the funny thing about this one is we've already had a bill killed by Democrats, which I was told was because this bill was better and that this bill would pass. I did not
Mhm.
believe it then, and I didn't. I don't believe it now for sure.
Yeah.
And so basically, we had one more attempt, a different bill that was actually a little bit better. Chris Todd worked his keister off, who hats off to him. Uh, and here's the saddest part: we were able to convince one Democrat to vote for it,
Huh.
but we could not convince Johnny Shaw actually voted, which probably is like has some logic and reason. Yes, we should have people select the primaries they want to vote in, and he may have Republican crossover voting in his area, and he's like, I don't want it happening that way either. But we had Representatives John Gillespie, Gary Hicks, Tim Hicks, and Ryan Williams are basically the Judases of the Republican Party. Judas took 30 pieces of silver and later killed himself. These guys would have done it for one, and I don't think they would have felt any remorse. And their names are always at the top of the list. They have terrible voting records, and I hope they're primaried, and I hope that people back in their district, especially the GOPs, censure this behavior. I hope the SEC removes their designation as Republicans because they have sent letter after letter to the General Assembly asking for this, and these members have thumbed their nose. Let them, if they want Democrats to vote in Republican primaries, they just need to run as Democrats. They've got a voting record very similar, or run as independents, but they don't deserve to have an R beside their name.
Yeah, and usually when I talk to certain members, not just in Tennessee but other places, and you ask, why do you want open primaries? They'll never admit it's because they want Democrat votes, but what they'll say is, well, we need it to win the general. We need more moderate candidates to win the general elections. If we have someone who's too conservative in the general election, they'll call them activists. Well, that means we could lose to a Democrat. So this time we won't lose. I don't know if I buy that.
I don't buy it. The especially in Tennessee, where we've got not only a Republican supermajority, but a Republican legislature and executive branch that could function without a single Democrat ever going to Nashville ever from now to the end of time. And so that is all theater of the mind for low information voters who don't think very much. And it's a very thin talking point, and the truth's not in it.
Yeah, I mean, we know why they really don't want it because they're dependent on Democrat votes and Republican primaries. And that's why,
They
you know.
are. I mean, you see it all the time. I mean, I think recently I was meeting with Gail Green of the Hamilton County Republican Party, and they sent out a mailer to 5,000 likely crossover voters in Hamilton County, telling
Wow.
them that it's illegal and to dissuade them. But even when people are caught doing it, our own DA, Cody Womp, it said, and she's quoted, that they won't prosecute crossover voting. And crossover voting was a big issue in the Hamilton County mayor's race when Weston Womp won. And so this is a huge pariah. Luckily, I know that Monty Fritz, should he become governor, wants to close the primaries. I know that Marsha Blackburn has carried it previously, and she has
Mhm.
on her website that she wants to close the primaries. So she's got a standalone dedicated page. I don't know where John Rose stands on the issue, but if we had had just one person, either Cameron Sexton, Randy McNally, or Governor Lee, push on this even a little, it would have passed. And we know that nothing happens in those chambers without those three's permission. So you can pretty much expect that those in leadership are happy with the primaries being open. And until we get different leadership or we replace some of these rhinos, I doubt we'll see this happen.
Interesting. Be interesting to see. Most likely, Marsha Blackburn's going to be our next governor. So if that happens, it'll be interesting to see if she's really successful at pushing that, if she continues to push it as well, because that makes a big difference when you have the leadership, like you said, at the top, really pushing it. And we're kind of seeing that right now with immigration bills. I think in the past, we've wanted some of these immigration bills to pass. They don't want to do it. But there has been a lot more pressure from the top, not only in Tennessee, but of course from the Trump administration. What do you think? What's going on there?
Well, we've got, and I'm going to breeze through these because we've hit these before.
Mhm.
Basically, those not lawfully present can't drive commercial driver's license. It passed the House and recently passed the Senate. Another one can issue out of service orders to people that can't read or write fluent English. It's passed both the House and the Senate. Another requires citizen checks for anybody getting taxpayer funded benefits, and it has passed the Senate and it's going to pass the House, I'm sure. Professional licensing passed the House and the Senate, and mandates sheriffs to participate in ICE. And so it is scheduled in the Senate for a final vote, and it has passed the Finance Ways and Means Committee. So I assume all five of these bills will make it through this session. While the biggest bills related primarily to education, which is our biggest line item expense, is a huge fail on the side of
Yeah.
Republicans. They're the house is on fire and they're putting out the rose bushes.
Hmm.
And so it continues to be so. Maybe we'll see some changes on that in the future.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Like I said, when the leadership at the top changes, like you said as well, maybe they can get some of that stuff done. On that note, you have a story here about how Tennessee tops a new report for states with highest foreign-born population and jobs rate. So talk about that.
So basically, the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that 9 out of 10 new American jobs are going to someone born outside the country.
Wow.
Um, and if you look at the South, the overall foreign-born population is up 578%. And they give $240 million in incentives, corporate welfare to Oracle, and it fired 30,000 of its Americans on April 1st while simultaneously filing over 3,000 H-1B visas.
Of
And
course.
it's amazing that they can go up to Nashville, spend a few $100,000 in PAC money, get $240 million in tax relief, not follow through on their promises, and have zero financial repercussions. And so basically the with the 4.3 foreign-born jobs gain compared to native-born gain of only 471,000. So basically, for every new job that's created, nine of them are going to foreign-born residents, and I would imagine those are either outsourced labor or illegal immigrants.
Mhm.
And so that's when they're touting those jobs numbers, man. What is it? Mark Twain said, "There's lies, damn lies, and statistics,"
You're right.
and you see a lot of that in the reporting.
Mhm. Yeah, this H-1B visa program is abused so much. I mean, I'm all for if we want to recruit the best of the best in certain situations, and they might be overseas, that's fine. But like you said, this is Oracle. They're literally replacing American jobs with the foreign jobs. It's not like, oh, we're just trying to recruit. It's literally we're firing American workers, laying them off, and then replacing them with foreign workers. That's not because you're trying to recruit the best of the best. That's because you're trying to save labor costs. That's the explanation.
Yeah, and then the Tennessee lawmakers let Tennessee taxpayers foot the bill for it in process. I mean, it's rough.
Yeah, I agree with that. Speaking with Brandon Lewis, he is with the Tennessee Conservative. It is the General Assembly is wrapping up. One thing that they have to do during the session, and they did, they passed a $58 billion budget. What are your thoughts on the budget this year, Brandon?
I think it's interesting that Bill Lee ran on a campaign promise that he would shrink the size of government, but has increased the budget almost every year. This is the one exception, I think, of his entire career. So, what is it that seven out of eight, he missed the campaign promise, and only because of economic pushback did he have to change it this time. So it is 9% below the fiscal budget of 2026. And the big pieces of this is 339 million in public education funding and increasing a start and teacher pay. We've also got $112 million for 35,000 school vouchers that are in the bill. And I don't know. It's just if if you got a failing company and the track record's terrible, and you're like, man, we're in a bad situation. We're not making any money. The customers aren't happy. We're getting beat by the competition. You know what we should do? We should pay everybody in the company more money since they're missing all the performance metrics. If that doesn't turn it around, I don't know what will. And it just kills me. It is how we suspend our logic and reason when it comes to government education, where we would do it in no other situation.
Yeah, they constantly say that the reason why they have problems is the money. But then you look at private schools who do more with less money, and that's like, okay, the money's not the problem. Maybe do better is usually what I say.
Yeah,
And
yes, it is do better. As I mentioned before, my daughter went to a great private Christian school up here that spends half the money of what we allocate per pupil, and the education was great. The class sizes were small, but
mhm.
they had very little overhead, and it's not all being spent in administrative expenses. And in Tennessee, I think it's less than 50% of the money makes it into the classroom, and the rest of it is wasted in administrative overhead.
Speaking with Brandon Lewis of the Tennessee Conservative, one more story we can get here. We'll skip down here to the Tennessee Senate passed a bill codifying the state policy to only recognize two sexes, which this is one of those stories that's like sad we have to do it, but unfortunately we have to do it.
Yeah, so Paul Rose brought a bill that every local government entity must revise any policies and references to a person's sex or gender. And it's just like there's male or female because that's all that exists. And next year, I'm eagerly looking forward to the bill that says the sky's blue and water's wet. Uh,
Yeah, exactly.
and and that rhinos lie. We're waiting for those bills to come through. All the declaratory statements about things that our government, and it's funny. It's like they have to fix. I mean, why allow this stuff to happen in government in the first place? Like, be a little bit more proactive, a little less reactive. But you know, I'll take it. I'll take it, Yaffee. I'm beaten down like a dog.
Mm,
This session, like if there's a handful of things that we've worked on, for 6, 7 years at the Tennessee Conservative, and imagine how tired people are that have been working on it for 20, and there's some out there.
right.
And so we hope springs eternal, I suppose. So we'll see. We had some wins, but we had some heartbreaking losses. But hopefully
Mhm.
the culprits that are responsible will ultimately pay at the ballot box with good challengers. And that's why grassroots activists and being informed, listening to programs like yours, reading the Tennessee Conservative, and supporting candidates and causes and organizations makes a difference because we have very few watchmen on the wall in the media that aren't corporately purchased and they need help.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just so you know, everyone, that's Brandon Lewis being optimistic. So that's
Yes,
that's
sorry.
actually him
Well,
being
what are you
optimistic,
supposed to
believe it or
do?
not.
It's almost like if
No,
you
I'm
lived
serious.
in if you
I'm
lived in
serious.
the if you lived in the Arctic Circle and somebody called and we had a show every day and then you said, "Is it going to be warm here?" "Well, I don't know. I mean, what can you do? Like you just report the outcomes. You
Right.
report it's cold again. You report the outcomes, and the only way that I could be optimistic is if I just didn't tell you what happened. Maybe we do that. Now let's just invent some stories. We need to do that. Maybe April 1st of next year.
Yeah, right. April Fool's
We'll
Day.
just do an April. We're going to do it. We should have done an April 1st show where we talk about all the great conservative legislation that didn't, as if it
Right.
got passed, and then we could just listen to it for a pick me up every once in a while.
Brandon Lewis of the Tennessee Conservative. Read his stuff. See this interview at TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Brandon, appreciate it. As always, my friend. We'll talk to you again next time.
Soldier on, Yaffee. Take care, buddy.